The seed of potential. The wind howled across Meridian Nine's rocky plains, a constant reminder of the planet's relentless hostility. Dust storms raged for weeks, coating everything in a fine, abrasive layer that found its way into every seal, every mechanism, every breath. Dr. Kurin Volokov stood at the entrance of Outpost Delta, watching the latest storm approach. His dark eyes, lined with premature wrinkles, scanned the horizon. Meridian 9 was supposed to be humanity's next great frontier, a testing ground for terraforming technologies and a potential lifeline for Earth's overcrowded populations. Instead, it had become a graveyard of broken dreams and shattered equipment. "Another generator's gone," a voice called from behind. Zara Akoro, the outpost's chief engineer, walked up holding a partially melted circuit board. Her dark skin was covered in a fine layer of dust, her environmental suit torn in multiple places. Curran sighed. "That's the third one this month. At this rate, we won't last another solar cycle." The outpost housed 147 colonists, scientists, engineers, laborers, and their families. Each had volunteered for this mission, knowing the risks. Each had left everything behind on Earth, believing in the promise of a new beginning. Now that promise seemed paper-thin. "We're losing people," Zara said bluntly. "The council back on Earth is talking about abandonment, budget cuts, they say, too expensive to maintain a colony with such low probability of success." In the Children's Learning Center, Eli Rodriguez worked with a group of young colonists. At just 12 years old, he was different from the other children. Where most saw the harsh landscape as a prison, Eli saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. "Look," he said, spreading out a collection of damaged components on a workbench. His hands, small but steady, began reconnecting circuits in ways that defied the standard engineering manuals. His mentor, Dr. Fumiko Tanaka, watched with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Eli had been diagnosed with a rare form of neurodivergence back on Earth, a condition that would have limited his opportunities in traditional settings. Here, on the edge of human civilization, his unique way of perceiving systems was becoming their greatest asset. "The conventional cooling systems won't work," Eli muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. "But if we use the mineral composition of the local rock formations as a heat sink?" Fumiko leaned closer. The boy was redesigning their entire thermal management system, using observations no other engineer had considered. Later that day, Commander Victor Nkosi called an emergency meeting. The colonists gathered in the central dome, their faces a mixture of exhaustion, fear, and desperate hope. "We've received the preliminary evacuation orders," he announced. The room fell silent. Zara stood up. "We can't just abandon everything we've built." "We've lost 2 research teams this month," Victor countered. "Our life support systems are failing. Every day we stay is a calculated risk." But as the debate raged, something extraordinary was taking shape in the background. In a small workshop, Eli and a group of young colonists were quietly working on something that would change everything. It started as a modification to their environmental suits. Eli had noticed how certain rock formations on Meridian 9 seemed to absorb and redistribute thermal energy in unique ways. By integrating microscopic sensors and adaptive nanomaterials, they were creating something revolutionary. "It's not just about surviving," Eli explained to Curran and Zara during a late-night strategy session. "It's about understanding the planet's own systems." The prototype suit could not only protect against the extreme conditions, but could actually draw energy from the environment. It was a radical reimagining of human adaptation, not forcing the environment to conform, but learning to work with it. When the first fully functional prototype was tested, nobody expected success. Zara watched as Eli walked out into a raging dust storm, his suit not just protecting him, but actually seeming to communicate with the hostile environment. Hours passed, communication remained steady, temperature readings were stable, energy consumption was minimal. "It shouldn't be possible," Curran whispered. But it was. The evacuation orders were suspended. More importantly, something remarkable had happened. In the most inhospitable environment humanity had ever encountered, a group of diverse, determined individuals had found a way to not just survive, but to truly connect with an alien world. Eli returned, his suit covered in dust but functioning perfectly. Behind his environmental mask, a smile spread, the smile of someone who saw possibility where others saw only limitation. Meridian 9 was no longer just a mission, it was becoming a home. To be continued in Part 2, The Technological Leap. The Technological Leap. The global research complex hummed with an electric tension. Dr. Imani Rodriguez stared at the holographic display, her fingers tracing the complex quantum entanglement patterns that danced like living crystals of light and information. "It's impossible," Viktor Kazanov muttered, leaning over her shoulder. The Russian aerospace engineer's breath was hot with frustration and hope. Imani knew the data came directly from her son Eli's experimental suit on Meridian 9. The quantum signatures were unlike anything they'd ever seen, a communication method that defied traditional understanding of physics. "Not impossible," she corrected, her voice calm, "just unprecedented." The breakthrough had come unexpectedly. Eli's adaptation suit, designed to survive on the most hostile planet humanity had attempted to colonize, had revealed something extraordinary. The suit's nanomaterials didn't just protect against the environment, they communicated with it, translating energy patterns into a form of quantum language. Dr. Alina Sharma entered the lab, her tablet displaying a cascade of mathematical equations. "The quantum resonance frequency is unlike anything in our current models," she said. "It's as if the suit is reading the planet's fundamental energy signature." Viktor scoffed, "Sounds like science fiction." "Science fiction is just science that hasn't been proven yet," a young voice interrupted. Aisha Okonkwo stood in the doorway. At 22, she was the youngest lead engineer in the global research complex. Her dark eyes sparkled with an intelligence that made most senior researchers feel inadequate. "The data from Meridian 9 suggests a communication method that goes beyond electromagnetic waves," Aisha continued. "We're looking at quantum entanglement that adapts in real time." Dr. Marcus Wung, the artificial intelligence specialist, had been quietly running simulations. "The computational complexity is mind-boggling," he said. "If we can translate this into a communication protocol, we're looking at instantaneous communication across potentially unlimited distances." Imani knew what this meant. Humanity had always been limited by the speed of light. Communication across interstellar distances took years, but this could change everything. The team worked in shifts, driven by a combination of scientific curiosity and the potential to revolutionize human understanding. Each breakthrough came with a dozen new questions. "It's not just about communication," Imani explained during a global conference call. "Eli's work on Meridian 9 suggests that materials can be designed to communicate with their environment at a quantum level. Imagine spacecraft that can adapt to different planetary conditions in real time." The implications were staggering. Traditional propulsion methods relied on carrying massive amounts of fuel, designing rigid structures that could withstand specific environments. But what if a spacecraft could literally read and adapt to its surroundings? Viktor had been working on a prototype propulsion system based on the quantum communication principles. The early tests were promising and terrifying. "We've managed to create a quantum resonance drive that can potentially manipulate space-time fabric," he explained, showing holographic models of the experimental engine. "Traditional rocket science becomes obsolete. We're not pushing against space anymore. We're communicating with it." Aisha's contributions were crucial. Her AI algorithms helped translate the quantum communication patterns into usable technological frameworks. She could take the raw, chaotic data from Meridian 9 and find patterns that human researchers missed. "It's like learning a new language," she told Imani, "except this language is spoken by the universe itself." The global scientific community was divided. Some saw the potential for a technological revolution. Others saw a threat to established scientific understanding. Funding began to pour in from governments and private corporations. The race was on to understand and weaponize, or perhaps collaborate with, this new quantum communication technology. But for Amani, it was personal. Her son, a child who had been told his neurodivergence was a limitation, had potentially unlocked one of the greatest scientific mysteries of human history. "We're not just developing a new technology," she told her team. "We're redefining what's possible." As the first successful quantum communication test was conducted, sending a message instantaneously from Earth to the Meridian 9 colony, the team watched in collective awe. The message was simple: a string of quantum-encoded data that represented hope, possibility, and the next step in human evolution. From a small research lab, humanity took its first real step towards understanding the universe not as something to be conquered, but something to be communicated with. To be continued in Part 3, First Contact Tremors. First Contact Tremors. The Galactic Concordance Chamber fell silent. Holographic representations of 12 different alien species flickered, their collective consciousness struggling to process the incoming data stream from the far reaches of explored space. Zariel, the Crexian representative, broke the silence. His crystalline form shifted with agitation, refracting light in complex patterns that betrayed his species' emotional state. "Humans have done what?" Ambassador Krell-Tox of the Neuronian Collective adjusted the quantum translation matrix. "They've developed a communication technology that bypasses our most advanced monitoring systems. It's unprecedented." The chamber was located in the neutral zone of the Andromeda Triangulum intersection, a place where multiple galactic civilizations met to discuss matters of cosmic significance. For millennia, the Concordance had carefully managed the development of emerging species, guiding them along predictable paths of technological and social evolution. Humans were anything but predictable. The quantum communication breakthrough had sent shockwaves through the galactic intelligence networks. What should have taken several centuries of careful technological progression had been achieved in mere decades by a species known for its chaotic and unpredictable nature. "They're not just communicating," said Aria 9, the Silicon Consciousness representative. Her form was a constantly shifting matrix of light and geometric patterns. "They're listening, truly listening to the quantum fabric of space itself." On Earth, the implications were just beginning to be understood. Dr. Amani Rodriguez and her team at the Global Research Complex were being briefed by a special interstellar communication committee. "We've intercepted multiple alien communication attempts," explained General Hiroshi Tanaka. "But they're not traditional communications, they're probing." Aisha Okonkwo brought up a holographic display showing complex quantum signature patterns. "It's like they're trying to understand how we developed this technology. They're confused, maybe even scared." The quantum communication system was unlike anything in galactic records. Most advanced civilizations relied on predetermined communication protocols, strict, structured methods of information exchange. Humanity's new technology was fluid, adaptive, almost organic in its approach. Back in the Concordance Chamber, the debate intensified. "We cannot allow an unpredictable species to have this level of technological capability," argued the Zeronian delegate, "a being of pure energy contained within a sophisticated quantum restraint field." Zariel countered, his crystalline form pulsing with a deep blue intensity. "And yet we cannot stop what has already happened. The humans have crossed a threshold." The real concern wasn't just the technology. It was what the technology represented, a fundamental shift in understanding communication, consciousness, and the very nature of existence. On Meridian 9, Eli Rodriguez was unaware of the galactic turmoil he had helped initiate. He continued his work, modifying environmental suits, studying the planet's unique quantum signatures. To him, it was simply solving a puzzle, finding connections where others saw only chaos. His mother, Dr. Amani Rodriguez, received a classified communication. The quantum signature was unlike any previous transmission. It was a direct probe, a galactic civilization attempting to understand. "They want to know how we did it," she whispered to Viktor Kazanov, who stood beside her. Viktor's weathered face showed a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "And what will we tell them?" "The truth," Imani replied. "We listened, we adapted, we learned." The Concordance was preparing its first official communication with Earth. Protocols demanded caution, measured responses, careful management of information. But humanity had never been good at following protocols. When the first official transmission came, it was received not by government officials or military leaders, but accidentally intercepted by a group of independent researchers in New Delhi. The message was complex, a quantum-encoded communication that would take years to fully decode. But its initial translation was surprisingly simple. "Who are you?" The question hung in the quantum realm, a cosmic challenge that encapsulated millennia of galactic curiosity. On Earth, in research facilities, government bunkers, and private laboratories, teams began the monumental task of crafting a response. Aisha Okonkwo worked through the night, her fingers dancing across quantum interface matrices. "We're not just answering a question," she told her colleagues. "We're introducing humanity to the galaxy." The response would need to capture the essence of human complexity, their capacity for destruction and creation, for violence and compassion, for chaos and order. As dawn broke over the global research complex, the first draft of humanity's quantum introduction was complete. It was neither a declaration of war nor a plea for peace. It was simply a statement of existence, raw, unfiltered, quintessentially human, the crucible of adaptation. The diplomatic vessel UNSS Horizon hung in the vast emptiness between star systems, a testament to humanity's first true interstellar mission. Commander Priya Nakamura gripped the command chair, her fingers tracing the quantum communication interface that pulsed with an almost living energy. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Kai Rodriguez announced. His fingers danced across the holographic display, translating the complex quantum signatures that had become humanity's unique language of communication. The message was from the Neuronian Collective, a species that communicated through intricate neural networks, their consciousness spread across multiple biological and synthetic platforms. Their previous interactions with humanity had been tense, filled with cautious probing and barely concealed skepticism. "They want a cultural exchange," Priya muttered, "as if we're some laboratory specimen to be studied." Dr. Alina Santos, the mission's lead xenoanthropologist, leaned forward. "Every interaction is an opportunity, Commander. We're not just representing Earth, we're representing an entirely new approach to interstellar communication." The Horizon was more than a diplomatic vessel. It was a living testament to humanity's adaptive technology. Its hull incorporated the quantum-responsive materials first developed on Meridian 9, allowing the ship to modify its structural integrity in real time based on environmental conditions. Their first scheduled meeting was with the Crexian Harmony, a collective of crystalline beings who viewed technological progress as a form of spiritual evolution. The Crexians had been watching humanity for decades, their complex internal debates about human potential becoming legendary within the Galactic Concordance. As they approached the Crexian meeting point, the ship's quantum interface began to vibrate with an unusual frequency. "Something's different," Kai said, his eyes wide. "They're not just communicating, they're resonating with us." The Crexian vessel appeared, not as a traditional spacecraft, but as a massive crystalline structure that seemed to grow and shift like a living organism. Its surface reflected and refracted light in patterns that suggested consciousness far beyond human comprehension. "Incoming direct neural link," Alina warned. "Prepare for quantum interface." First contact was nothing like the historical recordings had suggested. There were no grand speeches, no formal declarations. Instead, there was a pure, unfiltered exchange of consciousness. Priya felt the Crexian presence wash over her. It was like drowning in pure information. Memories, emotions, technological understanding all blending into a single, overwhelming experience. She saw their civilization's history, the millennia of slow evolution, the careful, calculated progress. And then, jarringly, she saw humanity, a burst of chaotic, unpredictable energy that defied all their established models of species development. "You do not follow," the Crexian consciousness communicated. The thought was both a statement and a question. Priya understood immediately. Most galactic civilizations followed a linear path of development. Technology advanced in predictable stages. Social structures evolved with mathematical precision. Humans did not. They created art in the midst of war. They developed world-ending technologies and then chose not to use them. They fought among themselves and then came together with breathtaking speed when challenged. The Crexian consciousness was both fascinated and terrified. "We are learning," Priya responded through the quantum link. "Not just advancing, learning." The distinction was crucial. Humanity's strength was not in technological superiority, but in its ability to adapt, to understand, to transform. Days turned into weeks. The horizon moved between different alien territories, each interaction more complex than the last. The Neuronian collective attempted to understand human creativity through intricate neural simulations. The Silicon consciousness tried to map human decision-making processes, finding them maddeningly unpredictable. Elena Santos documented everything. Her research was becoming a landmark study in xenoanthropology, a guide to understanding a species that refused to be understood. "They expect logical progression," she explained during a mission debrief. "But humans are a conversation, not a calculation. We're a process, not a product." The quantum communication technology became more than a technological breakthrough. It was a bridge, not just between civilizations, but between different ways of perceiving existence. As they prepared for their most challenging diplomatic encounter with the Zeoronian Energy Collective, Priya reflected on how far they had come. Humanity was no longer just a species watching the stars. They were participants in a cosmic dialogue. The universe was listening, and humanity was finally ready to speak. To be continued in Part 5, The Quantum Horizon. The Quantum Horizon. The edge of known space shimmered with possibilities. Here, beyond the carefully mapped territories of established galactic civilizations, humanity's most ambitious mission hung suspended between possibility and uncertainty. Dr. Imani Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the research vessel Prometheus, her hands hovering over the quantum interface that her son Eli had first conceptualized years ago on the harsh world of Meridian 9. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a living testament to human innovation, its hull alive with adaptive technologies that could read and respond to the most extreme cosmic environments. "Quantum signature stabilizing," announced Aisha Okonkwo, her fingers moving with practiced precision across the holographic controls. At 30, she had become the lead quantum systems engineer, continuing the work that began with Eli's childhood experiments. Viktor Kazanov, now chief of interstellar research, watched the external sensors with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "We're entering uncharted territory," he murmured, "literally and metaphorically." The Prometheus was more than a research mission. It was humanity's ultimate statement to the galaxy, a vessel designed not to conquer but to understand. Its primary mission was simple yet revolutionary: to explore the quantum boundaries of space itself, to learn rather than to claim. Eli Rodriguez, now a lead researcher, stood beside his mother. The young boy who once modified environmental suits on a hostile planet had grown into a scientist who saw the universe as the ultimate puzzle. "The Galactic Concordance is watching," he said quietly. "Every civilization is waiting to see what we'll do." And they were watching. The quantum communication network humanity had developed allowed for unprecedented monitoring, not as a form of surveillance, but as a method of shared understanding. The ship's destination was a region of space that defied conventional scientific understanding, a quantum nexus where the fundamental laws of physics seemed to twist and reshape themselves. Previous expeditions from other civilizations had failed. Some had been destroyed. Others had simply vanished. Humanity's approach was different. Instead of seeking to control or conquer, the Prometheus was designed to communicate. Its adaptive hull could modify itself in real time. Its quantum systems could translate and interpret complex environmental data that would overwhelm traditional scientific instruments. Incoming quantum resonance, Aisha called out. The ship's interface began to pulse with complex patterns of light and energy. Most species would have seen this as a threat. Humanity saw it as a conversation. Imani watched as the ship's systems began to interact with the quantum nexus. It wasn't about mapping or measuring. It was about listening, about understanding. The nexus responded, not with weapons or defensive mechanisms, but with information. Complex data streams that suggested consciousness far beyond linear understanding. The ship began to translate, not just the information, but the very nature of communication itself. "We're not just receiving data," Eli said, his eyes wide with wonder. "We're having a dialogue with the universe." Victor could hardly believe what the sensors were showing. The quantum nexus was responding to their presence not as an alien environment, but as a participant in a mutual exchange of understanding. Hours turned into days. The Prometheus drifted, communicated, learned. The Galactic Concordance watched in collective astonishment. Humanity had done something no other species had managed. They had approached the unknown not with fear or aggression, but with pure, unbridled curiosity. As the mission progressed, the implications became clear. This wasn't just a scientific expedition. It was a fundamental reimagining of how intelligence could interact with the cosmos. "We're not conquering space," Imani said during a transmission back to Earth. "We're learning to speak its language." The quantum nexus began to reveal secrets, not through forced extraction, but through a mutual dialogue. Complex patterns of existence that suggested reality was far more fluid, far more alive than any previous scientific model had proposed. Eli watched the data streams with the same wonder he had once applied to modifying environmental suits on Meridian 9. The universe, he realized, was the ultimate adaptive system, and humanity had finally learned how to listen. As the Prometheus continued its journey, it carried with it the most profound message humanity had ever sent to the cosmos. "We are here to learn, we are here to understand, we are here." The end.